पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो। वस्तु मौलिक दी मेरे सतगुरु, वस्तु मौलिक दी मेरे सतगुरु, कृपा कर अपनायो पायो जी मैंने, कृपा कर अपनायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो। जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई, जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई, जग में सभी खुवायो पायो जी मैंने, जग में सभी खोवायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो। खर्च खर्चे न फूटे, चोर न लूटे, दिन दिन बढ़त सवायो पायो जी मैंने, दिन दिन बढ़त सवायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो। सत की नाव खेवटिया सतगुरु, सत की नाव खेवटिया सतगुरु, भव सागर तर आयो पायो जी मैंने, भव सागर तर आयो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो। मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, हरख हरख जश गायो पायो जी मैंने, हरख हरख जश गायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने, राम रतन धन पायो, राम रतन धन पायो, राम रतन धन पायो।
Good.
I now request Param Pujya Swami ji to continue his talk on Ramana Geeta. Hari Om.
Anything? करना है?
Said Bhagwan's picture should come in the video.
Oh, okay.
So he wants that.
Namaste everyone. Let's begin with the Dhyana Shloka. One. Please repeat the Dhyana Shloka. अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशेः यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तम् गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरम् चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि Everywhere in the world, and to our knowledge, especially in our country, from time immemorial there have been great saints and sages. There have been so many mystics in our country which we know better. Being Indians, we know India better. In practically every state, Maharashtra or Gujarat, Karnataka or Bengal, Uttar Pradesh or Tamil Nadu, every state can boast of dozens or many more illumined people. Ladies and men can be counted. So, all of us are humanity, and among this humanity itself there have been time to time, at any given time for that matter, enlightened people who have then expressed their wisdom, and we have enough reason to believe that they were not just literary figures who had a gift of language and poetry and they wrote things. We have enough reason to believe that these were primarily free people. They connected with God, or sometimes the language was different. They were free of any psychological shackles. Secondarily, they composed, they spoke, they gave some wonderful teachings, they left behind some literature of their own. I am trying to convey an important point. Take for example Tukaram. We don't look at him as mainly a poet who wrote abhangs, and secondly a little bit of a saint also. It's the other way around. Tukaram's main relation with God was solid. Jnaneshwar, primarily illumined, having a connection with God. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, primarily he went through that death experience at the age of 17. And he saw with no doubt whatsoever that he was not this personality. He saw very clearly, and for years he didn't bother to speak or write or meet people. He was immersed in that blissful understanding of inner freedom. Now my point here is not just to make a mention of saints. In no way I am trying to say, you know how great our country is and so on. I am mentioning right at the beginning of this evening's talk that there have been saints and sages who had that personal, intimate knowledge and experience. And I also said we have no business to claim that only Indians realized it. In Islam and Buddhism, in Baha'i or in Christianity, in certain tribal schools of wisdom around the world, there have been illumined people. So what is the main point I am driving at? My question is, while all along there have been illumined people, why are you and I not illumined yet? Matlab ki baat now. Why are we not illumined? This chapter addresses precisely that question. We are not illumined because our mind has been quite a terrible thing. As Vivekananda in one of his talks said long ago, by nature the mind is a monkey. As though that is not enough, it drinks the wine of desire, goes madder. As though that is not enough, the scorpion of jealousy stings this monkey. The monkey starts doing a Tandava Nritya. As though that is also not enough, the ghost of egoism enters into it. These are the words and illustrations that Swami Vivekananda gave. You can imagine how this monkey of our mind can be quite a big, huge problem. Our mind is very much like that. One after another, through our life's journey, we are caught in something or the other. Even when we take up the so-called spirituality, the desire for fame, name, position, glitter, glamour, wealth, something or the other, recognition, won't leave us. This mind thus is a mighty challenge, and this chapter 12 of Ramana Geeta addresses the topic of handling our own mind. Yesterday we saw up to the second verse where Sri Ramana Maharshi openly acknowledges, doesn't brush aside, this is not a problem at all. Any other question? He doesn't say that. On the contrary, he says, I fully agree with you. Our mind is a mighty challenge. Mano durnigraham bhavet. And gives couple of reasons. One is Vishayasakta Chetasam. We are somehow very attached to sense gratification and further variations of it. In Ashtavakra Gita, there is a definition, bandhaha, bondage. What is bandhaha? There is a cryptic statement. Bandho, that is bandhaha, vaishayiko rasaha. In you and me there is a rasa. I will tell you what rasa is. First let me take up the adjective, vaishayikaha. Bandho vaishayiko rasaha. It is a rasa which is connected to Vishaya, sense objects. So what is rasa? Rasa is in the sense of a ruchi. a taste, an inclination. Rasa is a tendency. You are already late for a meeting, you are heading towards a place where there is a meeting, where you have to play an important role also. But suppose on the way your eyes fall upon a restaurant, it's a long time since you had gone there, you remember this is the place where the purest Madras coffee is served. In the meeting, I am not sure whether they serve good coffee. This is a place, but I am already late. But still, you pause. Or you may not pause, but you get agitated. I should have started early, had coffee here, and in the meeting, appearing to be highly detached from worldly things, I don't need coffee, I could have said, having drunk here. Such mischievous thoughts may come. Rasa means that ruchi. In Gita, in the Sita Pradna Lakshana, Lord Krishna says, if somebody somehow keeps away from worldly indulgence for a long time, the mind becomes very calm, withdrawn, and it would seem as though one has conquered one's desires, but not really, not quite. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam. He uses the word rasa there. Vishayaha, sense objects, as though say goodbye. If you have been nirahara, anashnan nanyo, you are trying to be anashnan, not eating. So you keep away from things which have generally, made you fall, made you weak, made you lacking in focus and whatever. Nirahara. If you do it for a long time, Krishna says, Vishayas leave you alone. But then he adds an adverb. They leave you, but leaving behind the taste in you. The taste has not gone. Therefore, sometime, maybe after several years, if you come come face to face with those sense objects, you say, for 15 years I did not smoke. But the other day, when something went wrong, I was so depressed. I said, enough, I have done enough sadhana. And 15 years ke baad, again you took that cigarette in hand. Then what happened? There onwards, another 25 years have passed. I have been very loyal to the cigarette now. It happens, rasavarjam. So, concluding this digression, Ashtavakra Gita says, the control is on two levels. Outwardly, sometimes you feel you have one. Inside there is rasa. Vaishayiko rasaha bandhaha. Mano durnigraham bhavet, because of Vishayasakti. And behind this unending Vishayasakti, attachment to egoistic gratification on the plane of senses or on psychological plane, vasananam baliyastvat. Vasanas are very strong. Vasana doesn't come from the sky. Vasana doesn't enter suddenly from somewhere. Don't say that somebody injected some vasanas into me. It is rather your own past deeds. And if you believe in multiple births, maybe in past life, but you are responsible. Somebody drank bottles and bottles and you now feel like drinking. That doesn't happen. You drank, you ate, you enjoyed something in the past out of ignorance, and strong vasana got generated. Vasana struck roots in you, and because they are so strong, now even though you have been doing sadhana, you have been studying all the scriptures under the sun, you have perhaps acquired PhD in Vedanta or Buddhism or Jainism or one of those mighty philosophies, but inside you there are these vasanas. So you need to undo it. And this chapter is going to talk to us how we may handle these vasanas. Huge accumulation of vasanas, hidden tendencies is in us. Everybody is in the grip of these hidden past tendencies. Therefore, mano durnigraham bhavet. Let's see now how he slowly introduces methods and means to tackle this inner challenge. Number 3, chapalam tan nigrahniyat.
Chapalam tan nigrahniyat.
Pranarodhena manavaha.
Pranarodhena manavaha.
Pashabadho yatha jantuhu.
Pashabadho yatha jantuhu.
Tatha cheto na cheshtate.
Tatha cheto na cheshtate.
Chapalam tan nigrahniyat. Pranarodhena manavaha. Pashabadho yatha jantuhu. Tatha cheto na cheshtate. Chapalam tat. By sandhi it becomes tan. Tat, that's a reference to the manaha. Catch it, grab it, bring it under your control. Nigrahniyat means one should bring something under nigraha. Bring it under your control. Take it in your control. What? Tat, that mind, which is, let us agree once more, chapala. Sometimes you call it chanchala, and a synonym almost is chapala. Chapala is restless, unsteady, unreliable. When you and I say something but do something else, then that is a kind of chapalata, chanchalya, chanchalata. Many times we behave like that without any prior planning. When we promise somebody, we sincerely promise. There is no insincerity at the time of promising. But then our mind being unsteady, down the road we change our mind. Within a short while, we have some second thoughts. And then we ourselves may feel ashamed later on. But then we say, I don't know. How do I make my own mind steady? At the same time remain intelligent. Once I asked me, years ago, I think 4 decades ago perhaps, a Swamiji of Ramakrishna Mission in Delhi, I said, how do you develop consistency? And Swamiji said to me, you better not develop it. I was surprised. He was a bit witty. And then he quoted some great author or speaker and said, if you simply develop consistency, then you are making yourself a machine. Machines are very consistent. Switch it on, it behaves the same way without any change. Then I said, Swamiji, then what are you telling me? You discipline your mind without losing intelligence. Don't become a machine. Don't become a robot. Don't become, some toy. So anybody and everybody can predict how you would behave. Or you yourself are helplessly going the same way. Suppose somebody gets up early morning like a machine. That doesn't have much value in spirituality. When one gets up early or when one has many good habits, but in every habit, in everything that one does repetitively, one suppose has certain alertness. One always knows, one is watching. If something that one has been doing day after day actually is irrelevant one fine morning, then instantly one doesn't do it. That is the mark of intelligence. If you are able to take a different direction if needed, then you are intelligent. Even when needed, you go by simply what you did always, what you said always. then you have become a machine. So that's what that Ramakrishna Mission Swamiji advised me years ago, if I remember right, year 1983 in New Delhi. And I can never forget, because I asked him very eagerly, how do I develop consistency? And he laughed and said, better not. I was shaken. And the depth of it has become clear to me over the years. The fine distinction between apparent discipline and real discipline. In real discipline, first of all, you are watching and you are very alert, you have viveka, up and active. You know what is false or what is true, rather than knowing. You have an eye for detecting. That is not gone. In apparent discipline, you have just made yourself, do the same thing come what may, whether something is needed or not. A guest comes to your house, okay, what will you have? Here is tea for you. And the guest says, I don't drink tea. Doesn't matter, here is coffee for you. You don't ask him at all, what do you need? Or even if he protests, you say, no, you must take. In fact, one place I went in Bangalore, a lady brought some sweets. And I said, please, I should not have used that language, but somehow I was in some strange mood. I said, if I eat this, I will die. And that lady perhaps didn't hear me properly. That's all right, eat one or two. So, the politeness and the tone of her voice was very good. She was actually being very hospitable, but that's called mechanical. Though otherwise it's good behavior. Please take, please have one or two. But lack of alertness. She didn't hear me, or even though she heard, she was not paying attention. Lack of attention. Her ears had heard, but her mind was not with her ears. So this happens. So, Nigraniyat. Bring your mind under control and let that control not be some kind of robotic behavior. Earlier you were never doing prayer, now you do every day hours of prayer, and suppose you are going about prayer in a robotic manner, then scientifically it is no improvement, or perhaps it is worse than before. You are in the grip of one set of habits before, now you are in the grip of another set of habits which looks respectable, but from a deeper angle of view, this outwardly respectable practice inwardly is so shallow, so meaningless. Chapalam nigraniyat. Maharshi shares with us here a technique that is prana rodhena. Control it by controlling your breath. Prana here, though otherwise the word has a larger scope of meaning, here it means breathing, breath. Restrain your breathing. And he is going to explain what is restraint. It is of two kinds, we will see very soon. Either watching your own normal way of breathing, or breathing as per certain rules. Prana rodhena. Prana means breath, rodha means nirodha, samrodha. In fact, rudha has the meaning stop. Rudha means to block something. Rodha, therefore, to begin with, is to stop. The mind is about to think of something utterly irrelevant to a certain situation, and many a time we are not able to stop. So can you stop your mind from going in directions which are not healthy, which are not pertinent? Rodha, stop. But in a larger sense, it is control. What would that larger sense mean? Sometimes it's not just stopping, but directing it in a desirable direction. You stop it from an undesirable direction and channel the mind in a desirable direction. You get up in the morning, and through gentle, alert self-observation you notice that I have had enough rest. But then you find the mind says, though you have had enough rest, sleep on, enjoy, forget everything, and so on. Then you say, when the body has had enough rest and it is time to get up, I am not going to yield to this temptation just for pleasure's sake or as an escapism. Sometimes we sleep just to escape some nagging thought. I have to face this, I have to do that, some kind of dislike, and I want to forget it. That's called escapism. You say no. So you get up and then you engage yourself. There are people I have heard who get up from the bed and go on sofa and sleep again. Then they have partly won but totally lost. Here they got up and there they slept. So one has to get up and then quickly engage in some meaningful activity. So that is the larger sense of rodha. Narrower sense is just to stop. Larger is stop from negative and engage in something positive. So if you do breath control, and through breath control if you control your mind, is that all? By that can you go all the way till the highest possible mind management? Maharshi hastens to add, definitely not. If by breath control you control your mind, that is not everything about it. It is actually a good achievement but not complete. You could say, like in mathematics you have a language, it's a necessary but not sufficient condition. There are necessary conditions and then there are sufficient conditions. Then there are many which are necessary but not sufficient. A table has 3 legs, necessary, but a 4th leg makes it sufficient. Then it's very stable. So a guest comes to you, you offer some water, that's necessary. The guest is tired, thirsty, you give him some water. But is it sufficient? Generally not. He is hungry too. After giving him some water, you ask, what will you eat? And you get some food. So he may need a few other things. So 1 or 2 you do, it's necessary, much appreciated, but find out what makes your hospitality sufficient. Likewise, breath control and the subsequent and the consequent mind management is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Why do we say it is not sufficient? Employing a very nice illustration, Maharshi says, breath control brings your mind under restraint, very much like you catch an animal, tie down the animal, like a wild animal, a dangerous creature. You catch hold of it, tie it down. So you save people from a possible attack by that animal. And you say, all right, I am done. You go away, you never know. That animal will try to free itself and possibly break the rope and then create havoc. So just tying down doesn't solve the problem. You need to ensure that the animal is completely taken away from possible targets, possible victims. Other day, was it not in the Delhi Zoo that somebody was trying to take a photograph, he bent and he bent a little more and bent a little more, and what was the wild creature below? Leopard. And leopard must have said to him, don't do more, that is enough. He didn't listen and he fell down and poor fellow died. Very tragic incident. So dangerous animals, the zoo had taken care, but this person so attached to photography crossed limits. So pashabaddaha jantuhu, Jantu is a creature, a dangerous creature. You are just tied. That doesn't ensure total safety. So you may have to take it away in this example. In some other case, you may have to kill, you may have to do away. Those details are not important to us. For total safety, a mere tying is not enough. Same way, breath control makes our mind quiet. And this quiet mind is not a completely transformed mind. Though he is speaking in the context of spirituality, what he has said here is a remark, is an observation with tremendous significance in what we call education. In education, our main goal, our central goal, our real goal is to transform a human being. Today, much of education is all about getting jobs, job oriented, preparing somebody for a profession. Much of our education today is all about making our sons and daughters land good jobs or gain some such position, they earn enough. So it is about earning and so on, how incomplete education is. So one is to provide them skills and make them conform to some patterns of behavior, and by and large from a distance they appear very good. The parents also may say very proudly, my daughter whom you have seen when she was 4-year-old, today she has such and such job in such and such fancy multinational company, and how much she earns. Just yesterday she bought the new car and the model. Parents also speak with much pride. See how there is a limited idea. Skills, a good job, good earning, a nice car, a nice house, all this daughter of mine got, and one is so happy, one is on cloud 9. But actually, real education is way beyond these. These are necessary, but not sufficient. Education itself has these two goals. Number one, let the person, boy or girl, man or woman, be, quote and unquote, a responsible citizen. But the higher goal, and until that higher goal is achieved, his or her life is not fulfilled at all. And that higher goal is, can that person be free of fear? Can that person be free of selfishness? Can that person, which includes you and me too, even our education, our spiritual education itself is highly incomplete if we are not free of hidden insecurity. In the name of spirituality, suppose you only have substituted one kind of insecurity with another kind of insecurity. Suppose earlier you did not know any spirituality, you thought money would give you security. Later on you got lot of spiritual knowledge. Now you are not directly after money, though that never leaves you so easily, but you are after recognition. I have written a 700-page book on Bhagavad Geeta and nobody is recognizing. Cheap, much less scholarly books are selling like hotcakes. My book is not selling, suppose somebody says. And in his heart of hearts feels so lost, so defeated, so frustrated. Then where is the change? He wrote a 700-page book maybe, but is he different from how he was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when he was feeling low about low salary or material income? We have an expression for it. He has not changed at all. It is Tweedledum to Tweedledee, they say. No real change. Earlier he was crying, I don't have enough salary. Now he cries, my book on Gita is not selling well. Alas! So whether it is material education, spiritual education, the final aim is can we root out a certain self-created sense of incompleteness, insecurity. So, chetaha na cheshtate. Na cheshtate means it's quiet. Let me give a last example before proceeding further, and very quickly also. Let's say some criminals are arrested. They are put in jail. And high walls, lot of levels and levels of security. And for 10 years, 14 years, the hardcore criminals were kept in highly guarded jails, prisons. And if you imagine, for 14 years they were prevented from doing anything nasty. Do you think when they come out after 14 years they will be changed people? Quite possibly they come out with enough of revenge. First thing is they will, try to take revenge on somebody who reported to the police. And there are some cases, in fact I personally know a case where a wife said to her husband, don't help that person he is a criminal. And the husband somehow, under some confusion, helped a criminal. And the criminal was later caught for some kind of crime, was put in jail for many years. Even when he was in the jail, this foolish man, in the name of friendship, went and said, can I help you? The wife said, no, at least. I told you, I warned you. Keep away from this fellow. The husband somehow was, obstinate. He actually went and, we are classmates, we have been friends, and the whole world has rejected you, but I am with you. Some kind of heroic statements. And he, promised that criminal, the real case, I said, I am going to take care of your property and so many things. When you come out, everything will be, safely handed over back to you. And that fellow shed some crocodile tears and said to this man, yeah, I am so glad at least you are with me. And all papers etc. were given. This fellow protected all his property and many things. After some 10 or 12 years when he came out, first he hugged and said, my friend, you are my whole world, etc., etc. But within a year, that criminal, being a criminal after all, somehow caught hold of a lawyer and filed a suit against this person who was helping him all these years, that he took my papers and actually has deceived me. I had given him so much, now he is returning only this much. I had given him so much of property, now he is returning only some false case. And this man suffered so much. So the point is, a criminal, even if kept in jail for 14 years, doesn't change. So what is required is not just putting him in jail, but if it's possible, education. In jails, therefore, there are reform activities. In fact, in the United States, when I first went, I once saw a big board, and I didn't understand that they don't call it jail at all. They call it correctional facility. When I read that, what is this correctional facility? There were, high walls, correctional facility. Then my friend said, oh, that's what we call jails here. A well chosen expression. We have to correct that person. It's not just preventing that person from attacking anybody. Can you correct his thinking? Can you correct her, thought processes? So, now come to spirituality. Chetaha na cheshtate. If our mind calms down, then there is no guarantee that it is changed. Deep inside, those tendencies very much are present. So what is one to do? One has to go further. As we said before, one has to look into what further can be done so that the mind is transformed. Now, before we actually take it up, let's see Maharshi himself clarifying that this control, this quietening or making it quiet itself is half the victory. Half the battle is won, but don't mistake it for the full battle being won. In 4 he says, Pranarodhena vrittinam Nirodha sadhito bhavet Vrittirodhena vrittinam Janmasthane stito bhavet Pranarodhena vrittinam Nirodha sadhito bhavet Vrittirodhena vrittinam Janmasthane stito bhavet. In this chapter 12, rather chapter 6 with 12 verses, in this 6th chapter, Maharshi Ramana or the compiler Vasishtha Ganapati Muni deliberately avoid dwelling on that further steps to be taken, because the chapter is titled Mano Nigraha. Quieten the mind, control the mind, and then something more, that re-education is kept for other chapters. So I would like to say a few words. What is that second stage, which is vital? This is a necessary but not sufficient condition. What makes it sufficient is the second phase, that is no other than self-inquiry. If the criminal who is kept in jail for many years, who is inside the correctional facility, is just given food and shelter and made to do some labor every day, he is not going to change. If he is helped in some way to question himself, in an ordinary context, the criminal may question himself, was I right in doing whatever I did? I killed my own brother. I deceived my own business partner who did so much for our company to come up. I like that one reflects, one re-examines, and oneself sees, not somebody giving a sermon. If somebody comes to the jail and gives a sermon to everybody, speak truth and satyam vada dharmam chara. Alright, all of you repeat please, and the prisoners in one voice repeat, satyam vada dharmam chara, and the man who gave sermon is very happy. I made 1,000 people say satyam vada dharmam chara, and he goes away. Nothing is going to happen. They are going to repeat all those beautiful sentences, but they will do the same thing as they ever did before. Like the parrots who were taught, if a hunter comes, what is that? Say, hunter has come, and warn others. The parrot said yes. And a hunter came, not one parrot, several parrots were saying, the hunter has come, and nobody was flying. The hunter caught hold of all of them. Merely saying the hunter has come doesn't mean anything unless the parrot understands what he is saying. Therefore, it's you and I can be the parrots. If we know Satyam Vada Dharman Chara, if we know many 10 commandments or 20 values of Gita or whatever, but we do not see the value of it. Deep in our heart, we believe something else. We use even the scriptures for some kind of glitter and glamour. Satya nash ho jata hai. Then everything is lost. So self-inquiry is on a deeper level to re-examine honestly, am I deceiving myself? Am I not, in some illusion, in some delusion? Questioning oneself seriously. And the good news is every one of us is capable of that self-examination. It is on the plane of values. If you take it deeper, in fact that going deeper is possible only if you have significantly progressed on the first level. Somebody who has not been living a life of values may become a great scholar in self-knowledge, but he won't succeed at all. Kathopanishad spells it out in uncompromising language. Na virato duscharitat, na shanto na samahitaha, na shanta manaso vapi, prajnane nainam apnuyat. Take just the first line. Na avirataha duscharitat. If you haven't actually withdrawn from bad conduct, then self-knowledge is a shut door to you. No entry. Charita is daily life. The way you treat people, the way you handle money, the way you deal with pleasure, the way you deal with name, fame. Name and fame by themselves are not a problem. So I said the way you deal with them. That is, if some name and fame come to you, suppose you become arrogant, you forget those people who helped you, it gets into your head, that is duscharita. Pleasure by itself is never wrong, but in the wrong way, at the wrong place, to a wrong extent, etc. If one is into pleasure, then it is self-ruin. So the right relationship to position, to pleasure, to possession, to name, to fame, that is called sucharita. From duscharita, if one withdraws, then one stands a chance of digging deeper. Self-knowledge, the door to self-knowledge opens. So the unsaid part of the entire journey of mind management, the part that is unsaid in this chapter is self-inquiry. The part that is highlighted here is the first part. Because we have a problem in the first part itself. Like we don't know adding and subtracting, and somebody says, okay, we have already covered that portion, today I am starting multiplication and division. The children say, but we have not understood. The teacher says, no, but we don't have time. I am going to teach advanced maths now. How foolish it would be. Many a time it's like that. Exams are coming near. I have to complete the portion. Whether you people have understood the early chapters or not, I am going ahead, and so on. I had a maths teacher when I was in 12th standard. He taught very well, by the way. Those of us who were listening to him actually found him brilliant. But 2/3 of the class were not listening to him. And his technique was very funny. He would write on the blackboard some derivation, maths, and then he would write QED. Then without even looking at us, 50 of us are watching, he would say, so it is all clear, isn't it? Of course it is clear. He himself would reply. Go ahead. And once more, about 1/3 of us were academically good students. We were listening to every bit of what he said. He was good in communication, one way. In one-way communication he was good. He expressed it well, his steps were neat, and those of us who were very fast and jotted down how he was deriving some, equation, we appreciated his logical neatness. But he was not checking at all. So, nigraha, control. However, though he doesn't cover the second part, Maharshi Ramana, in this verse which we just now read, says what happens if one goes about the entire process. So I must once more admit that this chapter, and I would presume deliberately, avoids the details of that second portion. Where is he talking about where we reach finally when both quietening the mind and transforming the mind, both stages take place. Yes, summarily we can call the two stages quietening, not changed inside, then transforming. The criminal is kept inside for years, that is quietening. The criminal is subjected to certain educational processes, well worked out educational processes, not just memorizing certain things, whereby his heart is changed. That is the second phase. So where does he talk about the final, destination? He says, Janmasthane sthito bhavet. This mind which is outturned, this mind which always has an issue about one's own limitations, what one has not got, where one failed and should not have failed, number of complaints. Typically, the human mind carries the burden of numerous complaints. Everybody has the heavy sorrow in his or her heart. As one gets older, they say more and more. Vruddhastavat chinta magnaha. An old person, they say, exceptions do exist. And in this audience, I would imagine there are some old people who are exceptions to that rule. But 9 out of 10, as they get older, have more and more worries. Because they feel time is running out. And rather than progressing, I have slipped and slid down. Their own mind playing a mischief actually. From Vedanta point of view, take it as joke or take it seriously. Vedanta says any moment actually you have nothing to gain at all. There is nothing that you need to gain. You are full right now. This is the Vedanta's unbelievable declaration. And if you study Vedanta properly, you will see that it is not just a statement to make you feel good. It's not a goody-goody statement. There is a thorough rationale in it. There is a thorough logic. There is a thorough, basis for saying that. Tattvam asi. You are free. Vedanta doesn't say Tattvam bhavishyasi. A true, competent Vedanta teacher never says, you will become free at the end of, stay with me for 3 years and when you give me the right dakshina, you will be free. Shiva Shiva, that would be injustice. The true teacher says, you are free and all that we are trying to do is to show you how you are already free. This is amazing about the Upanishadic wisdom. You are free. Your mind is playing a trick and we will show you how to handle that mind. So, Janmasthana. Maharshi is fond of this language. This mind that is flow of thoughts, creating an image of our own as though we are incomplete, as though we are a failure, as though we need that and then we will be okay, or we need this and then we will be okay, unless we get this, no chance. This mind has been doing this propaganda for a long time, for a very long time in fact. It is said to be like a beginningless sleep. A karika, that is a explanatory shloka on Mandukya Upanishad uses that expression. Anadi Mayaya Suptaha. One is asleep thanks to Maya, which is beginningless. Anadi Mayaya Suptaha Yada Jivaha Prabudhyate. And one wakes up. Then one understands, I was never bound. This is a wonder of wonders. Maharshi is fond of the language. This mischievous mind merges back in its source, Janmasthana. Janmasthana I translated as source. Literally it means the place of birth. Place of birth. It is source. So where the mind rises, the source, that is the pure self, has no incompleteness. The mind rose and mind is like a magician. Some of us have wealth, but we are so depressed that nobody loves us. Somebody has lot of admirers, but she or he moans, I don't have a proper house. Somebody else, something else. Our mind gets something or the other. You are the envy of everybody else, but you have your own reason to cry, to weep. Hardly anybody under the sun is free of some reason or the other. That is away from Janmasthana. And here Maharshi says, you can lead that mind back to the Janmasthana, the source, where there is total freedom. Prana rodhena, by breath control, vrittinam nirodha, the control of mind. Vritti here means thoughts. Control of thoughts becomes possible. Saditaha, gets accomplished. Oh, so if by breath control I control my mind, what next? The second half says, by that vritti rodha. First is prana rodha, breath control, then vritti rodha, thought control. So what? By thought control, you reach your own source. That is the ultimate freedom. And I already said, that second leap takes place not by some more breath control. Don't say, by some breath control, I get quietude of mind, and some more breath control, I transform the mind. No. You have to change the gear. By mere breath control, you cannot go all the way. Breath control quietens the mind. Self-inquiry helps you transcend the mind. Upanishadic masters sometimes prefer the language understanding the Upanishadic statement with greatest clarity. Clearest understanding of what the Upanishad says is adequate. That is the language of certain classical Vedanta teachers. Maharshi adopts the language of who am I, self-inquiry. There is some debate in the world. Can who am I help, or is it deeper contemplation upon Vedanta Vakya? If you read some Prakarana Granthas of the Vedanta, there is no explicit mention of Koham Vichara. Therefore we do say Maharshi championed Koham Vichara, and to many of us it seems Koham Vichara, that is, Koham is Sanskrit for who am I? Self-inquiry. Self-inquiry seems to be the very essence of Upanishadic wisdom, though not so explicitly mentioned in the Upanishads. Couple of places it is there. Otherwise, by and large, Prakarana Granthas, that is the number of independent works, have highly highlighted Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, contemplating upon the meaning of the great statements. However, sometimes it is possible to interpret statements like Neti Neti. Many of you have heard in Brihadaranyaka, there is a advice. Negate what you are not. Negate your false position, false stand. Next time a certain fear rises in you, look at it and question it. Then by questioning you drop that fear. Because by questioning you see the basis of that fear, and then you see for yourself that basis is false basis. Lot of fear, all of us live in fear, by the way. There is nobody really. If somebody is free of fear, somebody comes, I have no fear, my problem is something else. Then that person doesn't know. Desire and fear are two faces of one basic issue. Anybody who is bound, who is not liberated, necessarily has fear. And that fear, many people don't know they are living in fear. Has to be detected, has to be noticed. This is the fear that has been ruling my life. I would dare say that everybody here is such that some fear is ruling their life. Fear rules everybody's life, right? So you ought to examine. You may not be at this moment aware. Like I already said, you may be one of those people who say, no, I have no fear. From birth I am a fearless person, but I have desire. You have not examined your psyche fully. If you say you have desire, right away, like the other side of the same coin, you have fear too. Because moment there is desire, in countless situations, as desire rises, there is a fear of not getting what you desire, fulfilled. And in other ways also, there are numerous fears. Husbands fear wives, wives fear husbands, gurus fear disciples, disciples fearing guru is understandable, but gurus also. Children fearing parents when they are small is understandable, but parents do fear children. Everywhere, in every relationship, there is fear. Those who are apparently very obedient do so out of fear. Those who are apparently disobedient do so out of fear. Examine. Keep a special eye on your own behavior, then you will discover the truth of what I am saying. Fear is a major force operating in human life. Lot of people give lectures not to share knowledge. They are afraid that they may run out of business. They may go out of currency. Lot of people write books including on the topic of fear because they are afraid if I don't write then nobody may come to me. They are not ready to face their own aloneness. Lot of people do business not for any more money but because they think that if I stop then they can't imagine themselves sitting somewhere and their mind says without doing anything, what will happen? You have enough, right? Listen to music. No. I'm not saying you should not continue to do your business. That's a different issue. You continue or do not continue. Tackle this fear. So self-inquiry is a powerful tool. It is not mechanically sitting down and with a japamala, who am I, who am I, who am I? Oh, 106 are over, 2 more. Who am I, who am I? Then go to Swami Chidananda and say, I have done 1 mala of who am I, are you satisfied? Don't do it for my sake or anybody's sake. It is not about repeating some 3 words, who am I, my kaun hu, etc. No. It is being observant and detecting that, my behavior is governed by a deep-seated fear. And examine that and understand what is the nature of fear and gaze at it. That is second part. It's not breath control. I'm struggling to make it very clear that breath control is more an exercise of will, whereas watching fear and then seeing the falsehood of fear is an exercise of intelligence. Will and intelligence are of totally 2 different kinds. It's a different ball game, as they call it. The exercise of intelligence, observing, inquiring, understanding, seeing what something is directly, is a totally different ball game compared with, I'm supposed to do prana vikshana or pranayama. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I breathed in, then hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, you just keep doing. That is willpower, which also we don't have. We are such amazing people, we neither have will nor intelligence. Develop your will, bring your mind to a degree of control, quietude, then enter the arena of intelligence. Then you find that the mind undergoes a transformation. Catch the thief and then involve him, not just in sermonizing. Lot of ashrams become a failure because there is only sermonizing. Religious places become ineffective because there is just sermonizing and learning by heart various things, and then it becomes another show. Maybe in Sanskrit, maybe in some high flown stuff, but is there a change in the person deep inside? That is a question which spiritual teachers themselves feel uneasy about. So, Janmasthani stito bhavet. Then, Pranarodascha manasa. Pranasya pratyavekshanam. Kumbhakam siddhyati hyevam. Satata pratyavekshanat. Pranarodascha manasa. Pranasya pratyavekshanam. Kumbhakam siddhyati hyevam. Satata pratyavekshanat. We have